Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton at Big C Sports. Coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond, and London, England, as well as Paris, France. We love you in Canada, but there's nobody we love more than the good old boys down south in the land of the free and the home of the brave on a beautiful May the 22nd, 2020. Rondo Deportes, Big C. How's it going for you good old boys down south?
Well, Charlton, we've made it to the Memorial Day weekend, and I want to say thank you to all our frontline healthcare workers, our nurses, our doctors, our first responders for the admirable job that you're doing during this coronavirus.
They are definitely doing a very good job. I want to say today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you, as well as a fleet of Cadillac cars. Also, Big C Sports is powered by Google and Alexa. Just say Google or Alexa, play Big C Sports Podcast. You will hear from our sponsors. You will hear Welcome to the Show. I will introduce Big C as the Mystic, and he'll do his thing from 3,000 miles away. And I really appreciate the way things are growing with Big C Sports. You can follow Big C Sports on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Roku TV, Apple TV, Amazon, Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. But you better have a smart TV or you'll be looking at a still picture of Big C. You want to make sure on this happy Memorial Day weekend we give out this Veterans Crisis Line to help all of our veterans who are going through issues. They can also help family members. Big C, why is that so important to you?
It's so important, Charlton, because as we get to this day of celebration for the veterans, so many of our veterans lose their lives every day to suicide. That number's up to 22 veterans a day now, Charlton, losing their lives to suicide. I know we give out the suicide prevention hotline number every show that we do.
Yep.
But it's got to be more of a concerted effort from this country as a whole to think about the veterans that are out there. I know everybody's distracted with the coronavirus going on and lack of sports going on, and they're trying to figure out what they're going to do. Well, to fill in for that lack of sports that you have, find somebody who is struggling. Help them out. Give them the number. Give them the text number. Give them the website. But don't let mental illness go unnoticed in this country, Charlton. People think of it as an embarrassment. You know, find a way to help that person out, and let's start preventing less suicides in this country.
And we will do our part, Big C. 800-273-8255. 800-273-8255, or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net, and you can definitely get some help. Really happy to be affiliated with Valley Homes Weekly TV on Dish TV, DirecTV, AT&T Uverse, TV 53, home of the San Francisco Giants. Just tell them Big C sent you. The goal is simple: recruit 100 real estate brokers, put their property listings on TV just like McDonald's does it. Car dealerships do it, and you can watch sports. They're saying we can watch sports any day now, Big C. Let TV work for your real estate. 800-772-8624. That's 800-772-8624. For opportunities in real estate, go to bigcsports.pacwm.com. That's bigcsports.pacwm.com, and everybody can get some help. You know, I want to make sure that we have this great holiday coming up and for our veterans, and to just make sure that people are out there being safe too. But I also want to give a thought. We all talk about COVID-19, Big C, and people are afraid to go out of the house and afraid to do anything. But at the same time, we got to make sure that we share our messages of being healthy. I went to have my national colon checkup day today, Big C, and it's amazing because sometimes we're so focused on not getting sick, we forget to get our checkup. So I'm just saying a PSA to all men, go out there and get your checkup. I went and had mine done today. The doctor put some Kleenex on the table that I had to bend over and grab. And when he was finished, I blew my nose, Big C. It wasn't for my nose. He said, actually, it's for my backside. So it was a little bit embarrassing. But as he and I talked about, he said, Charlton, you're doing a valuable thing here, but make sure a lot of other men do it, especially African Americans, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you know, it's something that everyone, once they get over the age of 50, Charlton, need to do. I mean, early prevention is one of the key to successful medicine in the United States and around the world. And, you know, it shouldn't be looked at as an embarrassment, Charlton. It should be looked at as a passage in life that you've been able to make it to that point. You know, past the 50-year-old mark, Charlton, and you want to get older. So, you know, this is something, preventive maintenance, that everybody should look at. Just like getting the oil changed in your car makes the engine run longer. You want to get your body checked out.
You got to get it checked out. He did say I had the best cold he's seen in his years of practicing medicine, Big C. So, hey, that made me feel good. It's all fair in love and war. But I want to make sure that I let men know you may be afraid of everything, but don't be afraid of getting your checkups. That's so important. Big C, NFL chief Dr. Alan Steele, he said that on a conference call, I believe it was on Tuesday, that it appears inevitable that a number of the sports teams' personnel will be infected by COVID-19, and they fully expect that we'll have positive cases that arise. Steele said, because we think that the disease will remain an epidemic in society, that it should not be a surprise that new positive cases arise, and that our challenge is to identify them as quickly as possible and prevent the spread of any other participants. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you know, that's the challenge every day if you look at it. And ironically, the numbers are going up in the southern states where they relaxed restrictions, Charlton, and opened up, and, you know, the states early. The numbers are starting to spike already. And so social distancing meant a lot when COVID was first announced, and, you know, they went on this national order that, you know, we need social distancing, the lockdown, you know, and stay at home. And everybody wants to get out. I understand the need to go out and get some fresh air and get out of the confines of your house, because the mental issues that come from that, Charlton, being locked down all the time, it's very stressful on anybody. But also, as we look at this pandemic that is nowhere near being over, and the president is trying to tell people it's safe, it's over. He wants people to go congregate in churches on Sunday and, you know, put together these mass gatherings where you have a lot of elderly people, Charlton. When you go to church, you hug, you pray, you touch each other. All of those things that they've been talking about, social distancing, the president said he doesn't want to see America do that anymore. Go down and take the risk about getting sick.
Yeah, and that's why people have to listen to their doctors. Just like getting our background check or our colon check, we got to do that. And everybody wants to get out there and play sports. But it's like the athletes are being spoken for. Patrick Ewing, NBA great, Hall of Famer, it just announced today, you know, a couple of hours ago, that he tested positive for COVID-19. On Friday, he put it out on a tweet, and he said that he's tested positive for COVID-19. The virus is serious and should not be taken lightly. And he wants to encourage everybody to stay safe and take care of yourselves and your loved ones. And it reminds me of taking my doctor's advice and going to the doctor today and making sure that I'm healthy, because you don't find out until you get the exam. So in doing that today, having some very candid conversations with my doctor, and we also talked about African-American men, and we had the conversation come up before I even heard about Patrick Ewing, Big C, and he asked me, what is it about our young African-American men that are just itching, no pun intended, to go out and fill the arenas over a dollar bill, Big C? I just want to get you to expound on that, your thoughts.
Well, the reason for that, Charlton, because so many of them are told them that's the only thing that they can do in life to be successful. When you look at so many young men nowadays, Charlton, and I don't know if people do the statistics on how many people are playing, but when you think about the NBA as a whole, there's only 450 players in the NBA. There's not a lot of guys. There's not a lot of opportunities to play in the NBA. But this resonance that people have to go out and perform to entertain others, to put their lives at risk, is hard to understand. But the pressure also comes from society. They feel that they have to fulfill their self-preservation needs as well as support their families and their friends, and, you know, not taking into account the risk that they're putting themselves in. They need to understand the science, and this has been always one of the biggest things about getting an education. When you surround yourself with intelligent people, and you're the one with the least amount of intelligence, you're doing very well. And I never want to be the smartest person in the group that I hang out with. So that means the guys I'm hanging out with don't know anything.
Right.
And so this is one of the things that a lot of athletes don't do. They have a lot of hanger-ons, just like the president. The president got a lot of hanger-ons. I mean, he has some intelligent people around him, but all of their names start with flunky. You know? And so when you're sitting there and somebody, you know, they're telling you a lie or something wrong and you're agreeing with it, then you're not benefiting anybody. And these athletes, regardless of them missing paychecks, they don't want to lose their lives, Charlton, over this pandemic to go out and entertain people.
Well, that's what we're hearing. And just like my doctor, I went to get a colon exam and ended up having some very candid conversations about everything. And so I'm in good health. I also feel that I'm in good health because I do what I'm told to do medically as well as reading. I want to just touch on this thing with Patrick Ewing, and I want to get your thoughts on it, Big C, because not many times, I was just telling you I think it was last week, it was Mr. Manfred, the commissioner of Major League Baseball. He was on a program, and he was talking to a medical doctor, Sanjay Gupta, and he was telling Sanjay Gupta as a medical doctor how to stay safe. And Manfred's a lawyer. So here is my doctor's talking to me today about what we can do. And he likes our show, by the way. He loves Big C Sports, by the way, too, Big C. So I appreciated that. But he was asking, what is it about our young African Americans that want to get out there and play for these white people? As if the movie Django back in the day, I think it was Jamie Foxx and Leonardo DiCaprio. There was a I think his name was Sam Jackson. He played a character, but he was always trying to please Massa. And he was just asking me, do we have that thing where we're willing to let other people keep speaking for us when it comes to our health? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, it's one of the things I always mention, Charlton. It comes from mentorship and parenting at home. When you let your children know that the only outlet that they have in life is through athletics, they don't tend to develop their mind the way they want to develop their body.
Yeah.
And they don't, as a parent, if you tell all your children who are walking around with a basketball, there's only 450 jobs in that sport.
Yeah.
You have a better chance and a longer career being a doctor, a lawyer, geophysicist, whatever. But, when we as a culture push our children into nothing but sports, and we see it starting at the youth level.
Yeah.
And, you got to play sports to get to this point. And them not understanding that there's something else beyond the sports because the limited chance that they have to make it is really limited. And so this is the reason why you see all of them dying to get back out there, because they've been told this since they were little kids. You're the best thing since sliced bread.
Yeah.
You're the best athlete we've ever had here at our school. You're the best one we've ever seen. And so they keep hearing it. They never hear anything about, hey, you have the top GPA in the history of our school.
Yeah.
They don't hear that. You have the rushing title. You have the scoring title. You get those things as young black athletes. And so you get the accolades on your sports performance, not on your academic performance. But, you look at the past president we had,
yeah.
President Obama. This was a guy who wasn't going to school to play football, basketball, or baseball.
No.
Right? He was going to school to develop his mind, to make his mind as strong as he could. And that is what we don't see enough as African-American kids.
Yeah.
When we look at our African-American politicians, our kids are not going to sit down when they come on television and see them. It's like the thing that, as good as it was, is also as bad for black society as it could be. This show that they had with Jordan, The Last Dance.
Yeah.
It put a light in every black kid's mind. I can be that. And I remember they used to have commercials. I want to be like Mike. And that was the swan song and the national anthem for black kids. I just want to be like an athlete. I just want to be an athlete. We've never seen a commercial, I want to be like President Obama.
Yeah.
But we have, endorsements saying, I want to be like Mike. Even when Bo knows, we resonate and we glorify our black athletes. So our black youth, that's the only thing they look up to. And when they don't make it, a lot of them go into a negative spiral in life.
Yeah, and that's one thing about the kids. However, I want to ask you what my doctor and I were talking about. Patrick Ewing, he's not a young man. No one in the NBA is a minor, as far as I know. There might be some 18-year-old kid. I just don't know about it. But I just want to get this up because this is about grown men now. We can't go back and say the parenting. We can't go back and say that the kids didn't learn something 10 years ago. Almost everybody that's part of the league is African American, at least 80%. And they're the ones that are going to be on the floor, not the white owners who are avoiding COVID-19. They're going to put their athletes together. I just want to expound on this. After being selected number 1 overall in the 1985 NBA draft, Patrick Ewing, he came out of Georgetown. He went on to record 13 20-plus points per game seasons and was instrumental in the Knicks' successes in the late 1980s and 1990s, while New York did not win an NBA championship thanks to Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon. And they went on to make the playoffs every season from 1987, 88, and then 1999 to 2000, and 2 NBA Finals appearances at 94 and 99. So we have, I know you always talk about Chris Paul. We have guys like LeBron James, Kevin Durant, maybe the most well-known player that tested positive for COVID-19. And we have, of course, Steph Curry. He's at Dr. Fauci on. So now we're talking to learned men that are probably multi-millionaires and will always have money for the rest of their lives. What's wrong with doing what Kevin Durant did? Just take a year off and get healthy and figure this out while science works. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, the reason why Kevin Durant took a year off, Charlton, was because of an injury. Every athlete who has a catastrophic injury takes a year off. They have no choice in doing that. That's called rehab. But the thing about getting healthy, you can't sit around as an athlete saying that I'm just going to take time off, because they're going to find somebody to replace you. Athletes are replaced every year. So the need to be out there, and athletes play through injuries regardless of the nationality that you are.
Yeah.
You all play through injuries. And that's just the mantra of an athlete. They will tell you cannot make the club in the tub. They tell you that all the time.
Yeah.
So if you're going to be hurt, they're going to get somebody who's going to act like he's not hurt to be out there.
Yeah, that's true too. However, there have been over 90,000 people that have passed away, and every single one of them, their life's over. And I just know they got the same thing that Patrick Ewing caught. I hope that he recovers. Thoughts and prayers are with him. But sometimes the universe is telling you something. The rattlesnake always rattles before it bites you. But only a fool will hear the rattlesnake rattle, Big C, and decide to walk into the cage anyway. And I hope we don't have a lot of fools walking into that rattlesnake cage called COVID-19. National Hockey League Players Association, they're voting today actually on how the NHL season will look if they avoid the rattlesnake and go into the ice anyway. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, the thing about sports, Charlton, sports is going to come back.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, the SEC conference today voted that all athletes can be back on campus starting June 8th. So once they opened up the door, all you needed was one conference to do it.
Yeah.
And the SEC, the second most powerful conference in all of collegiate athletics financially, they opened the door. They voted today amongst all the athletic directors and presidents of the universities to open up the campuses on June 8th to all the athletes.
Yeah.
So the floodgates are about to start. Once they did it, everybody else is going to do it. Once you get these college athletes on campus, now you're going to get the professional athletes in. The drive is all about money. It's not about science. It's not about intelligence. It's about money. The bottom line dollar is driving it all. And you think about it, if you didn't have college football this year, there's only about 41% of the Division I programs that could survive financially. And so they look at that. Now, I mean, unfortunately, we have deaths in athletics every year. It happens. It just doesn't get a lot of publicity. Every now and then you'll hear about one or two, but there's over 100 deaths in collegiate athletics every year. They don't make a big thing of it, Charlton.
Yeah.
But everybody is watching with the COVID right now. But as we've talked about science, we've talked about intelligence, we've talked about paying attention, everybody's paying attention to the bottom line dollar. A lot of these kids who are not going to be professional athletes and know that this is the only way that they have to get an education is by going in, participating in the sport. Is that they're going to do their 4 or 5 years in college, have their degree, and have a long career after that. But the others who have aspirations of being a professional, knowing the only way they're going to get there is going back out, playing and staying healthy, and not tearing up their body. They're not concerned about the COVID part. They think that science can cure that. And so they're all willing to take the risk on every level.
Yeah, it seems that way. Give me your thoughts on the NHL. That's predominantly a Caucasian league, and you have a lot of Canadians and Americans playing in NHL hockey with the National Hockey League Players Association, and they're talking about how to get out there. I know we all have a protocol, just like talking to my doctor today. He said the best way to stay healthy is to not get sick. How do you not get sick? You get your checkups. You don't wait till you got to call the ambulance and then say, hey, can you help me, doctor? And so for the NHL, I know we're mostly football, basketball centric, baseball centric in the United States. NHL, soccer, NHL maybe are neck and neck. Give me your thoughts on NHL. But they're not talking about NHL or college. Think about this. NHL, they're talking about it. You don't hear this push for college hockey teams to get back the way they're asking for college football and even basketball coming up. Big C, your thoughts?
Because college football and college basketball are the revenue sports at every major university, Charles. When you look at the NHL, it's quite different than the rest of the professional sports. NHL and the NFL have a lot in common that they have to deal with.
Yeah.
And that's called quarantine. Because to get into Canada, you have to go into a 14-day quarantine. And when the majority of half the teams are in Canada of the NHL, so for players to go across the border, you cannot play right away, Charleston. You have to have a 14-day quarantine.
Yeah.
Not only that, a lot of Americans play on Canadian teams. So to get that player back in to start practicing, there's a 14-day quarantine.
Yeah.
You got to think about the number of European players that are on those teams that are in Canada. There's still a 14-day quarantine once you get them back in the country. So it's not so easy to start up the NHL because it's actually played in two countries. I understand the NBA and Major League Baseball is played in two countries, but that's only one team.
Yeah.
They could transplant that team to the U.S., whether it's the Toronto Raptors or the Toronto Blue Jays.
Yeah.
They can station that team in the U.S. It's not like where you got teams at every major Canadian city in hockey, and you have to deal with the quarantine, and it would be tougher bringing that many teams into the U.S. playing in a neutral city on a night-by-night basis. So the NHL has a different, set of laws that govern them versus those other sports, and the country of Canada is governing them more than anything else.
Yeah. Well, we talk about United States, we talk about Canada, and now for our brethren in Mexico City, Big C, they canceled the incomplete soccer season over virus concern. This is out of Mexico City, Mexico. Professional Soccer League has decided to cancel the season without crowning a champion for the first time in its history due to science and the uncertainty generated by the pandemic. So I wonder what they know in Mexico that we don't know in the United States. Usually this always is talk on the news when I listen to my conservative talk show hosts, how people are coming here. They call them the Brown Menace, coming to the United States looking for opportunity. Isn't it ironic that the leagues in Mexico are putting safety over trying to make a dollar? And that to me is ironic, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, the COVID-19 is spiking in Mexico, Charlton, and it's spreading like wildfire. As a matter of fact, when you think about the Latin American countries, Brazil today surpassed Russia to become the number 2 COVID country in the world, Charlton. They had over 1,200 losses of life today, 1,200 deaths in Brazil today. Over that many people lost their lives.
Wow.
And so as they're looking at this pandemic that is spreading, and the Brazilian president, if people remember, was hanging out with Trump down in Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah.
And he's, touting this hydroxychloroquine, also saying that, it's a game changer. But when you look at the spike in loss of life in his country, that they've all of a sudden become the number 2 pandemic country in the world. And not only that, they still operate flights from Brazil to Florida every day, Charlton. And the governor has not decided to shut that down, to quarantine that. So think about the pandemic that's still coming up out of Brazil into Florida.
Is it amazing? I wonder if the SEC commissioner knows anyone from that part of the world in Brazil or in Mexico City where things are spiking. And it's spiking because just like they're trying to do some work at Bryant-Denny Stadium down there at the University of Alabama, it's spiking because they're not practicing social distancing. They're not tackling each other in football pads where it's 100 degrees. I mean, it's just amazing how science is. We're being told that science just doesn't matter. And we're being told this primarily by Caucasian men who are not going to be out there running around on the field, as I was talking to my doctor today. And I just want to just add this point because I keep hearing, I have people from all spectrums of life, Big C, but when I hear people advocate that this, you got to be tough, we all get germs, it's just like the flu, none of those knuckleheads will not stop taking their medication. They keep taking their medication that science says they need for blood pressure, diabetes, cholesterol, whatever it happens to be. But there's this push to ignore science when it comes to this. Why is that, Big C? Your thoughts?
Why is that, Charlton? When there's a push to ignore science, that means it is not directly affecting you.
Yeah.
And that's the thing you need to understand when you sit up and listen to all these talk shows and everything throughout the day.
Rush
These
Limbaugh.
people are not directly affected. It's like I keep reiterating. If they don't believe in the science, why aren't they all together in the studio? Why are they practicing social distancing? It's easy to tell somebody else to go out there and take the risk because it's not going to affect you.
Yeah.
You're still going to get your paycheck. You're not going to be going home to your family after rubbing up against other sweaty bodies for 2 hours, 3 hours during a contest.
Yeah.
It's very easy to put somebody out as a sacrificial lamb and, hey, go see how deep that water is because I can't swim.
Yeah.
And send somebody else out there into it. And that's basically what's going on. I mean, when you listen to the rhetoric every day, I mean, we talk every day as well as all the other shows.
Yeah.
But I've never been a jettison for getting these people out there. I'm of the firm belief that all sports need to be canceled. But America runs off dollars, period. It's just like you always say about Sam Jackson, what's in your wallet?
What's in your wallet?
Well, what's in their wallet is called athletes, Charlton.
Yeah.
These athletes are what's in their wallet, and they need these athletes in their wallet so that that wallet stays full. And if these athletes are not in their wallet, then that wallet is going to be half empty.
Yeah.
So they got to get these athletes out there competing because it's all about the dollars. It's not about the science. It's about the dollars.
Ironically, as Sam Jackson said, what's in your wallet? My grandfather used to say, what's in your wallet? As he slapped me a quarter back in the day. But that's when you could buy some bubble gum for a penny, Big C. But think about this. I think it was Manfred that said if they don't resume half the season, they're going to lose $4 billion between, 30 teams in Major League Baseball. So $4 billion is a lot of money. Who in the world has that kind of money to even lose, Big C? But that's how life has been for them. I want to also go across the pond. In Watford, England, they follow Big C Sports in England too. They sip tea and listen to Big C Sports. Big C, 2 more Watford players, they self-isolate after families are infected. 2 more players self-isolate after family members tested positive for COVID-19. And that's in England. And they haven't started, sweating and running around the way they're going to do down in Alabama. Even the Pac-12 commissioner said, well, we're going to do what everybody else is doing. He said we, as if Mr. Scott's going to be out there running around at the Coliseum of Los Angeles. No, he's talking about the young African-American kids and players. It's just amazing. But in England, they've caught the wisdom that maybe we haven't seen here. They're isolated because their family members tested positive, and they probably brought it in. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, the true depiction of all of what we're looking at right now, Charlton, is that you have states right now that are not being honest about the amount of positive tests that they're having so that they can open up and try to assure the public that nothing is wrong, even though the numbers are spiking.
Yeah.
Who's going to be honest on the collegiate or the professional level when you get a positive test and it's a star player?
Yeah.
Matter of fact, there's 3 star players on your offense that you really need. You got your center, you got your quarterback, and you got your running back or your receiver.
Yeah.
And they're all stars, Charlton. Who's going to be honest about, hey, these guys tested positive? They got to be gone for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And that 2 weeks might cost you a spot in the college football playoff. It's going to cost your program a couple of $100 million.
Yeah.
That's what you got to be concerned about. Who's going to be honest when they're out there testing? I mean, you look at the NBA. All of a sudden, you made it to the finals that week, and you got 3 of your starters test positive for COVID.
Yeah.
Are you going to say, okay, we're going to sit them down for 2 weeks, or are we going to let them play for 2 weeks? So they'll live if they play for 2 weeks, or will they get in a worsened condition if they play during that 2-week stretch? This is the number one thing you got to look at. Stop thinking about the leagues are starting, because they're going to start. They're going to play. The athletes are going to be out there. The key question is now, who in the hell is going to be honest about the players coming up positive?
Only the banker says your check went through. We'll take the Big C timeout, also known as the Big C pause. When we come back, we're going to talk more about the world of sports and how everybody's going to rebound to it. Also, a little bit of sad news out of the NBA today. Big C, we'll be back in just a moment. All right, we are back from the Big C Pause, also known as the Big C Timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the #1 podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on the apps that I love called Google. Or Alexa, just say Google. Or Alexa, play Big C Sports Podcast. You will hear from our sponsors. You will hear Welcome to the Show. I will introduce Big C as the Mystic, and he'll do his thing from 3,000 miles away. And I really appreciate the way things are going with Big C Sports. You can follow Big C Sports on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Roku TV, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. Really appreciate the way things are going with Big C Sports. Also very happy to be affiliated with Valley Homes Weekly TV on Dish TV, DirecTV, AT&T Uverse, TV 53, home of the San Francisco Giants. When you reach out to them, just tell them Big C sent you. The goal is simple: recruit 100 real estate brokers, put their property listings on TV, just like McDonald's does it. Car dealerships do it, and sports teams too. You can let your TV work for your real estate. 800-772-8624. That's 800-772-8624. For those of you looking for opportunities in real estate, go to bigcsports.pacwm.com. That's bigcsports.pacwm.com and find out about opportunities. Big C, we talked about Patrick Ewing testing positive for COVID-19, and I believe he's in his late 50s, I believe, but I hope he's going to be okay. I really hope and pray he's going to be okay. Some sad news that came out of the NBA this morning. Former Utah Jazz great, NBA Hall of Fame coach Jerry Sloan passed away at 78 years old. He took the Jazz to the finals in 97 and 98, and he also took over after Coach Leahy stepped aside, I believe, back in the 1988 season. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, when you think about Jerry Sloan, he had a storied career. You know, he's a Division II All-American out of Evansville in Illinois. He was a first-round draft pick of the Chicago Bulls. He was the fourth pick taken in that year when he came out. That next year, Charlton, he went to the Washington Bullets in the expansion draft. But he came back to the Bulls after his career was over as an assistant coach.
Yeah.
And you said he ended up in Utah there with Sloan. I mean, he epitomized the Chicago Bulls mentality, that hardcore Midwestern mentality. That's the type of player he was. And ironically, he is the only player with the Chicago Bulls to have his jersey retired. Many people think Jordan has. No, he hasn't. Jerry Sloan is the only one that has. But he was a hard-nosed coach, Charlton, from the Midwest and a player. And he was a guy that is, when you think about the players in Utah, they played just like him. John Stockton, Karl Malone, they epitomized what Jerry Sloan was as a coach.
Yeah.
And the world of basketball lost a great ambassador today.
Yeah, I mean, thoughts and prayers with his family. He actually passed a Parkinson's disease and Lewy body dementia. You know, hearing the current coach, when you talk about Quinn Snyder and how Utah's had a lot of good coaches, Big C. They've had, in that small state, in the mid part of the country, they've had some great coaches. But also, I would think the two players that they should put on Mount Rushmore of Utah, if that makes any sense to you, John Stockton, the great Karl Malone, they had the chance to play for the great Sloan. Big C, your thoughts?
They did. I mean, and you know, he built them in his mold. When you think about the type of basketball they played in that era of basketball in the NBA. That it was a lot more physical. You think about John Stockton when he left the league, he was an all-time assist leader. He taught team ball, Charlton. There was no selfishness in Utah when he was the coach there. And you know, his legacy will always live on.
He will always live on. So wish him and his family, everyone that's affected by it, thoughts and prayers are with you, especially all the great players that learned from him. Thoughts and prayers with you from Big C Sports. I want to also, as we're touching on basketball, you know, the WNBA, women really, it's almost insulting to say that women are the backbone to society. They're probably the front bone. If that makes any sense to you, the front bone of society, WNBA players. And I say that because there'd be no people on the planet without women to give childbirth. And talking to my doctor today, if there were no women, there'd be no men signing up to do childbirth. Big C, would you be in that line, Big C? Your thoughts?
I can't even stand it. There's no lines I can get into.
Yeah, I really appreciate the fact that women have made the sacrifice of childbirth, especially how so many people don't respect women. WNBA players, the teams have cut their rosters to 12. They got to do it by May 26th, Big C, so that players can get paid by June 1st. I know there's so much talk about NBA coming back. There's talk about college football coming back. The WNBA, it was really ascending, and it's kind of the silent story that people really don't talk about, how the women have also been affected by the loss of their income in sports, Big C, because baseball can't make it without losing another $4 billion. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, the league was supposed to start a week or so ago, Charlton, and silently it just slipped on past, and no one paid attention to it. You know, the biggest problem when sports starts back up here, Charlton, over the next couple of months, is that there are going to be so many sports played at one time. You think about, you're going to have the NBA competing against the NFL and college football, Charlton, that's going to be really tough because people are not going to turn away from the NFL or college football. So the NBA, when you think about it, will be the third seat when it comes to sports starting up.
Yeah.
But with all these sports, running and overlapping, got baseball is going to be in there, Charlton. It's going to be a tough dollar to split in society.
It really will. And I don't know the answer to this question I'm going to ask you, but if all the talk of people testing positive to COVID-19, are there any well-known women outside of some actresses in Hollywood, of course, but as far as athletes that tend to be in the best shape, they have the most vitamin D, the most minerals, they sweat the most, they work out the most, but I haven't heard about any prominent women coming down with COVID-19. Why is it just men are doing it, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, no, Charlton, the thing is everybody is not going to make a public statement that they have COVID-19. I mean, the people who have come out that people are known in society about, that's something that they chose to do. You got to understand this is a private situation. So everybody is not going to run and say, hey, I got COVID-19.
Right.
They're not going to do that. They don't want to alienate or ostracize themselves, in public. They still want to be able to function. Everybody's life is private.
Yeah.
And most people tend to keep it that way, even when they have illnesses. It's like, the passing of Jerry Sloan. Jerry Sloan had been ill for a long time. Karl Malone made a statement last week that everyone needed to pray for him because he was very, very ill and didn't seem to have much time. Karl made that statement last week, on his Instagram account. So, everybody doesn't always let everybody know. And many people did know that Jerry Sloan was suffering from Alzheimer's and that he had been in medical care for some time. So, everybody handles it a different way, so it's like anything else.
Yeah, it's a personal thing to even let people know what you're going through. Still thoughts and prayers with everybody dealing with something. Men and women get your checkups. I know oftentimes women are more apt to get their checkups before men do, but I just want to make sure that we're reaching out to women also. Big C, there's a tournament going on over the weekend on Sunday. It's with Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson, Tom Brady, and Peyton Manning. This golf tournament, it's a great cause. It's to benefit COVID-19. I know Tiger and Phil did a tournament last year. I think it was $9 million was the purse. I don't know how much money they're going to give for this, but I think it's a nice gesture to do it. And in golf, it's not going to be the same, obviously, without crowds there. But it's nice when they do it. However, would you still advise Brady to be? He's supposed to be getting ready for throwing the footballs. I mean, golf has a lot of torque on your back. Wouldn't that be a shame if he injured himself playing golf, Big C? If that makes any sense to you? Your thoughts?
You got to understand, athletes play golf all the time on their days off. Michael Jordan would go play rounds of golf the day before the game. Sometimes play 36 holes. He played 2 rounds.
Yeah.
This is not uncommon for professional athletes to go out and relax on the golf course. And he's not going to torque his back or anything like that. I mean, he plays golf all the time. And so this is just a normal afternoon for him.
Yes,
and these guys, it's going to be great must-see TV. I mean, this will draw millions and millions of viewers because when you look at the iconicness of Peyton Manning and his TV bravado that he has with his show on ESPN, as well as people want to see the matchup between Tiger and Phil, but also that little back and forth between Brady and Manning. You think about their careers as football players and how much they meant to each other. Manning has the upper hand on Brady when you think about the head-to-head matchup. 4 times Peyton Manning kept Tom Brady from, getting to the Super Bowl. People don't realize that. That's how many times he knocked Tom Brady out of going to the Super Bowl. It might have been 13 trips.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for Peyton Manning.
So maybe Tom's going to trip him as he's making his way up to the 18th green. Big C, it's all fair level war. It's an 18-hole charity match on Sunday to raise money to fight COVID-19, and hopefully it can provide a little bit of levity for a lot of people who are just trying to figure out how to get that yearning. I cooked some collard greens the other night, but as I cooked them, I actually bought them out of the can. I know oftentimes I want to grow them in the garden, but I was in a hurry and they had them at the store in the can. I'm not going to say the label, but the can is green and orange. Man, those collard greens are good. The anticipation was amazing, Big C. As far as anticipation, you got to look at the world of tennis, and I know they want to get back to playing again. You think about Serena Williams, Big C. Tennis star Naomi Osaka, she surpassed Serena Williams as the top female earner in the tennis universe, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, that just lets you know that the young guns are moving forward in the world of tennis, and it's strong. I mean, she has an advantage because when you think about her dual citizenship in Japan and in the U.S., and she can do that multicultural marketing, Charlton, you know, it's a great asset for her.
Yeah, she, according to Forbes magazine, she's 22 years old. She earned $37.4 million from June 1st of 2019 to June 1st, coming up to 2020, with endorsements and prize money. And Serena's right under her at $36 million. It's not that bad when you make $36 million in your second place. It's not a bad way to earn a living. Big, your thoughts?
Well, they have so many sponsorships. I mean, they're well known, especially Serena. She's been, you know, the face of women's tennis for over a decade, Charlton. But now Naomi Osaka is coming along, and like I said, you know, by having that Japanese heritage, Charlton, she gets so much foreign money as far as endorsements.
Yeah, there's a lot of good things going on for a lot of people. As far as endorsements, I know you have your own form of entertainment, and everybody does. Now, this is what I've come to understand. There's a thing called, I think it's called Strip Chat, an adult website company. They announced in an email to Yahoo Sports a $15 million bid Thursday for naming rights to the Mercedes-Benz Superdome down there in New Orleans, Big C. I guess they're not going to renew with Mercedes-Benz, and they're looking at having other sponsors. I think, how about call it the Big C Dome, and they give us $15 million? But would that be kind of ironic to have that type of a club on the top of a football stadium? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you think about the city of New Orleans and all that goes on down there, Mardi Gras,
yeah,
you know, Bourbon Street and everything, and I mean, it's a different type of lifestyle. I mean, this is just the naming of a building. It doesn't mean anything beyond that, but you know, teams will see the best dollar amount to come in. And the 15 is not enough to get the naming on the building. You got to come there with, you know, $100 million to get the name on the building.
Yeah.
And, you know, they just made a gesture to get some publicity, and
yeah.
they got it.
Yeah, they got the publicity. And maybe it does have a catchy name, if that makes any sense to you, Big C. Hopefully they don't catch too many things out there with that name.
I mean, if you look at what happened in New Orleans over the last 3 years, in the playoffs, it'd be the perfect name for the building. They've been stripped, you know, 3 times to get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe that's why they were trying to put that note out there. And since we're sticking with the South, I want to touch on this story one more time. I know you breezed across it. We were talking about getting your checkups and Memorial Day and COVID-19, but I really am thinking about this as even the Pac-12 is talking about it. The SEC Southeastern Conference, they will allow athletes to return to campus beginning, I think, June 8th. And the standard infection prevention measures are mandated by the public health authorities is going to continue. The SEC established the best practice for a safety task force. Also has to establish an array of other safety recommendations. Those include a 3-stage screening process before the athletes arrive on campus. It's amazing they call them athletes now, not students. They want to get the athletes back within 72 hours of entering the facilities that they must test, and I believe on a daily basis. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you know, hopefully they do that. But like I said, you know, how anxious are these universities or even these professional teams to announce that they have star athletes that are testing positive? You know, that's going to tear down your program completely. Then it's going to defeat the purpose of coming back to school and trying to play games. There's nobody wants to go out there and lose half your starting offensive defensive lineup because of COVID. Not only that, when you have players that come down, how strict are you going to be with testing the rest of the team, because you know they've been in contact with other teammates in many ways. And so that's going to be a big problem, Charlton. The minute you get one athlete test positive, you're going to have at least a dozen that are positive that they didn't get right off the bat.
Yeah. Well, even with that, it's not just an SEC problem, but they're the team that tends to have the most teams that have competed for championships lately. You have the Big Ten, you have the Pac-12, the ACC, the Big 12, and then there's other conferences like the Ivy League. I don't hear about Harvard and Yale and Brown saying that they got to get back and play sports because of money. Now, maybe I haven't heard that story, but have you heard any talk of, say, Ivy League presidents saying we got to get our young boys back out there sweating and spreading pathogens? Big C, your thoughts?
Jonathan, you haven't heard that about any conferences other than the Big Five, because economically, the rest of those conferences don't matter. They all survive off of the Big Five, Jonathan. If the Big Five conferences were to go away, who would you be standing in line to watch on television? I know you got the Big West, the Mountain West out there on the West Coast, Charlton. You got some Mid-American conferences. You got the Ivy League. You know, realistically, I mean, some Division II teams, Division I AA. Who's going to be turning on the television to watch these non-known conference schools?
Well, I think it's amazing. Everybody is geographical. We talked about the high school programs yesterday and how there's some big games that are announced for teams to fly all the way across the country to play. And most likely those games are going to be canceled. And I know they're going to be canceled for one reason. They're going to be canceled because of the science. Okay, they're going to put science first when it comes to taking care of the high school players. At least I hope they're going to put the science first. I don't know why anybody would say that we need to go out there and make a big push for it, because everybody has their own thoughts on that. But I know at some point in time, whether you're Mountain West, whether you're the Big 12 or the SEC, you all have to focus on how do we keep people safe. And I want to make sure that happens. But again, there's still no push, even on those conferences. How do they get away with hiding the health that even my doctor talked to me about it today? He thinks it's a crazy idea. That came from the mouth of a medical doctor, Big C. Your thoughts?
How do they get away with hiding the health? You have your own internal doctor talking. It's not like you're sending the players out to doctors that are not being paid by your universities or by your professional team. All these doctors are internal. So whatever they say, they're going to go to the coach with it first. They're going to go to the training camp. They're not going to go to the local health department and say, hey, we got 12 football players today that test positive on this SEC campus. We got 10 that check positive today on this Pac-12 conference team. That's not going to occur. So this is all internal information that they're going to keep. Just like now, Charlton, you have people in states that are not releasing the data on the positive test and even the death rate in some states. They got even some employers won't test. So as they say they're going to be testing these players, you know, I would need to see that on video every day, showing that they're testing these players.
Well, we know you're not going to see it on video every day. Everybody's going to do what they got to do to get out there and have the players play. Again, it's always about getting the other people to go out there and do the dirty work and do the labor. And none of those college kids are going to get the money that they produce for the schools that are itching, no pun intended, to get them out there and playing football and other kind of sports too. It's amazing, but it's all fair and love and war. I want to touch on, before we close out on this beautiful Memorial Day holiday weekend, the observance of Memorial Day is amazing. It's a holiday observed on the last Monday of May, honoring the men and women who died giving their lives serving this great country, the United States of America. U.S. military do a great job keeping us all safe. So Memorial Day 2020 is going to occur on Monday, the 25th. It was originally known as Decoration Day. It originated in the years following the Civil War, became an official federal holiday in 1971. Big C, I know that people may not get together the way they used to, but I still love saying that we're the only sports show in the universe that doesn't wait for Memorial Day weekend to pay homage to our military veterans. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you're going to see a collage of people getting together come Monday. I mean, all these states have lifted the restrictions on social gatherings. And so, you know, you're going to see mass gatherings. You're going to see the barbecues going on, all the celebrations, the fireworks, and all of those things. But unfortunately, Charlton, by all these mass gatherings that's going to go on for Memorial Day, the pandemic has not gone away. And unfortunately, you're going to have some people test positive for it, Charlton, because social distancing is relaxed. And it's relaxed because it's economic.
Yeah.
Everything that we look at is economics. I know it's hard for people to stay home because they want to earn a living. You got bills to pay. People are tired of seeing each other in the same house every day. You know, it's like you get together for better or for worse, but you didn't get together for that be this worse with each other every day.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, during this time, it's not going to be the best of healthy situations for everybody.
Yeah, and that's why, again, people have to go to the doctors. Even in my appointment today, before I could even go in, they have everybody, of course, 6 feet apart. They put a mask on you. They took my temperature with a Star Trek kind of thing. They swapped it across my forehead. They said, okay, you're good to go in. And then I went in and did the same thing. And everybody's, of course, practicing the social distancing. But you can't practice social distancing when you're playing football and you're trying to blitz. I really think when you look at the Pac-12 conference and the SEC, the marquee game for college football, at least in the preseason, many people think it's going to be the Ohio State and Oregon matchup at Austin Stadium up in Eugene. But the USC and Alabama game, that's down in Texas. And, of course, Texas had those kids that went on spring break, and I think 28 came back positive for COVID-19. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, it's still early to be thinking about college football. We don't know what the test level is going to be over the next couple of months of key star athletes, Charlton. And if the test level gets too high of people coming back positive, will they put a pause on the season?
Well, you just said they won't tell us. I mean, they don't have to tell us if somebody tests positive. They could just send them up. I always talk about this. One of the talk show hosts that I listen to is Rush Limbaugh. He happened to be off today. I know he's dealing with a health problem. I wish him well, but sometimes the rhetoric is bad. But at the same time, it's all fair in love and war. I want to just mention one more thing about the NFL, because Joe Flacco, we talked about New Orleans trying to find a new sponsor for the Dome, especially the same dome that the lights went out when Joe Flacco won the Super Bowl, when they helped beat the San Francisco 49ers by turning off the lights for some reason. Maybe Teddy Pendergrass was trying to perform when he said, turn off the lights, and want to listen to him. The New York Jets and quarterback Joe Flacco, they agreed to a 1-year deal. How does that make Sam Darnold feel, Big Z? Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, it can make Sam Darnold feel real good. Joe Flacco had neck surgery during the offseason, and so, he's cleared, I guess, now, and he can sign a contract. But if you look at his productivity over the last couple of years, it's been really bad. Now, you got to realize Lamar Jackson was in that same class that Sam Darnold was in, and he benched Joe Flacco. So, I mean, Sam Darnold, as long as he's not throwing interceptions, he has nothing to worry about.
Nothing to worry about. That's what they say. So, also, my friend, Aaron Rodgers will be okay up in Green Bay for at least another season or two. It's all fair and love and war. I really want to wish everyone a happy and safe Memorial Day weekend. May we all just do the best we can to practice social distancing and trust in science, even if a little bit. Big C, back in the day, there's a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man, and he would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young man, rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, talking to all the frontline healthcare workers, be safe and have a happy Memorial Day. But football and all sports, Charlton, is back. Give it 2 weeks, everybody will be reporting.
Everybody will be reporting, and you can report too every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide when you follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. As we always tell you, there's never, ever an excuse for domestic violence. If you know any man or woman going through that garbage, please pick up the phone and call 911, because no man or woman should ever have to deal with that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you, on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.